The silhouette of his face can be seen on thousands of flags marching in protests all across Europe. His nickname of Apo can be heard through the shouts of tens of thousands in massive rallies. But who is this person that so many Kurds and their allies are demonstrating on behalf of? And why have 69 Nobel laureates recently all signed a letter asking international institutions, the Council of Europe, the Committee for the Prevention of Torture and the United Nations, to intervene on his behalf against Turkey, who's been holding him in illegal isolation for a quarter of a century? To answer these and a range of other questions, we need to look back into where this all began. Who is Abdullah Öcalan? Abdullah Öcalan was born in 1949 to a poor family in Amara in northern Kurdistan, the Kurdish region of southeast Turkey. After working as a civil servant in his youth, he studied at Istanbul University and later transferred to Ankara's Faculty of Political Science. The 1971 military coup and the suppression of Kurdish identity prompted him and his friends to investigate the Kurdish issue further. In 1973, Öcalan and a group of students formed a Kurdish political organisation based on the analysis of Kurdistan as a colony long denied its right to self-determination. This movement eventually led to the founding of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, in 1978 in a small village in northern Kurdistan, with Öcalan as its political and ideological leader. The Turkish government responded with detentions and violence against the new party's peaceful political activities. In 1979, Öcalan withdrew to Syria amid a brewing military coup in Turkey. On September 12, 1980, the Turkish military seized power, resulting in thousands of detentions and widespread torture. From exile, Öcalan led political activities and in 1984 initiated armed resistance. In the early 1990s, Öcalan sought a political solution and called for several peace talks, but violence resumed after Turkish President Turgut Özal's mysterious death in 1993. In 1998, after unilateral ceasefires and peace efforts, Öcalan was forced to leave Syria and went to Europe to promote a political solution to the Kurdish question. After being pushed out of Europe, he was captured in an international operation and taken to the prison island of İmralı in Turkey on the 15th of February 1999. His 2 decades in Syria planted seeds for what would become the Rojava Revolution in northern Syria in 2012. During the 90s, Öcalan's political philosophy began to evolve, shifting from a Marxist-Leninist analysis and a belief that an independent state of Kurdistan was the remedy, to what would eventually become his theory of democratic confederalism in the early 2000s, which saw local autonomy as the antidote to centralised state bureaucracy, and women's rights, social ecology, and protection of ethnic and religious diversity as the cure for the fascistic nationalism that fueled Turkey's oppression of Kurds. Öcalan has been imprisoned on İmralı Island since 1999. His capture violated international law and has led to his inhumane and illegal isolation for 25 years. He has been denied contact with his family and lawyers. It has now been over 3.5 years since Öcalan has had communication with anyone outside the prison system, other than one visit from the Committee for the Prevention of Torture, who won't talk about what they found. His life sentence without the possibility of parole reinstated a de facto death penalty in Turkey and has since been applied to thousands of others. Ill prisoners, almost all of them Kurdish, are dying in Turkish prisons in significant numbers. Solitary confinement is normalized by illegal decrees. The European Court of Human Rights has ruled that Öcalan must be given the right to hope, that is, the possibility of conditional release. And the United Nations Mandela rules make clear that solitary confinement should only be used as a last resort and never exceed 15 days. Breaking these rules is considered torture, but the responsible international institutions are not doing their duty and are helping the Turkish state to isolate Öcalan from the whole world. Kurds throughout the European diaspora have protested at the European Parliament in Brussels, The Hague, the United Nations in Geneva, and the Council of Europe in Strasbourg. They demand that international bodies enforce international law. Why do Öcalan's ideas matter for all of us? In prison, before Öcalan's isolation was fully implemented, he was able to write several defence writings outlining his philosophy of democratic confederalism. As these prison writings were published as books and translated into different languages around the world, billions of people became aware of Öcalan's profound philosophical ideas and the solutions they offered to the Middle East and our entire planet. Many of his diagnoses proved prophetic, as he accurately predicted many of the environmental and ecological crises we now face, and spoke of the need to democratize the Middle East before it erupted into the sectarian and ethnic conflicts that we now see engulfing the region today. Rojava in north and east Syria is one place where his political theory has been implemented. In 2014, Rojava had formed the YPG and YPJ, known as the People's and Women's Protection Units, and was beginning to liberate towns and implement Öcalan's ideas of local democracy. Unhappy with this development, the Turkish state decided to arm the militants of ISIS as a proxy force against the Rojava project and form a jihadist highway from Istanbul into Syria, where over 40,000 foreign fighters flowed in to destroy this region that was putting Öcalan's democratic ideas into practice. Erdogan, the Turkish dictator, even cancelled the peace talks that Öcalan had initiated a few years earlier in order to win votes in his national election bid, and essentially relaunched a war against the Kurds. Rojava in Syria became a rallying point for Kurds worldwide, with volunteers from other nations travelling there to witness the revolution and defeat ISIS. After the YPG and YPJ's victory in the famous Battle of Kobani against ISIS, their revolution was fully on the world stage, and many began to wonder how the Kurds were able to defend themselves and build a democratic alternative in a region dominated by authoritarian regimes. In 2017, the coalition of the West helped defeat ISIS, liberating Raqqa. The YPJ women dedicated their victory to Abdullah Öcalan and raised a large flag with his face in the middle of the city, acknowledging how his philosophical writings had given them the blueprint to become architects of their own destiny. Since then, Turkey has tried to suppress Rojava's success. This has led them to invade Syria and occupy Kurdish regions. They've used state terrorism to cause hundreds of thousands of Kurds to flee. Similarly, the Turkish military has invaded southern Kurdistan in northern Iraq in an attempt to fight the PKK guerrillas. They seek to destroy any and all Kurds who understand that Öcalan's ideas offer a solution to problems in Turkey and the entire Middle East. Freedom for Öcalan, a political solution for the Kurdish question. Abdullah Öcalan has led numerous peace efforts, and by constantly advocating for a just and democratic solution to the Kurdish question, he's become the most important voice for peace in the region. Which brings us all the way back to those flags you see marching through Europe on behalf of Öcalan's freedom. By now it should be clear that they do not just represent a person, but also an idea. namely the idea that Kurds, and indeed all stateless and occupied people, should lead their own society free from oppression and exploitation. They represent the idea that no society is free if their women are not fully free, and that uncontrolled capitalism will permanently destroy this planet in its unquenchable quest for profit if we do not consider the needs of people and life over corporations and greed. This is why Kurds and their allies across the globe demand Abdullah Öcalan's freedom, as he is a badly needed voice in a wilderness of despair and hopelessness, amidst a collapsing world where corrupt politicians care more about profits than about the hungry and dispossessed people they pretend to serve. The Freedom for Öcalan, a political solution for the Kurdish question campaign has united unions, social movements, political parties, artists and millions of Kurds and supporters since October 2023. The campaign aims to end the isolation of Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan.
Freedom Jalal now! Freedom Jalal now! Freedom Jalal now!
And facilitate a just and democratic solution to Turkey's long-standing Kurdish question. Öcalan has sacrificed 25 years for his principles and solutions to our problems. Öcalan has the potential to become a leading voice in the struggle for our humanity if his isolation is broken. This is why his freedom is our freedom. We are linked to him by a chain of destiny and ask you to join us in securing his freedom and using his wisdom to help repair our world.